what's coming, what's emerging. And before we begin, Dr. Edith, could you tell our listeners and viewers a little about yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much, Judy, for having me. Thank you guys for being part of this amazing movement that is birthing through all of our communities right now. And my name's Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan. Let's see, I am the creator, the storyteller, the ambassador of a new movement called the Luminous Education Revolution. And this is really education from the future that is birthing through all of us right now. And prior to being interested in alternative styles of education, I was a consciousness and meditation and human potential coach. I was a Chinese medicine doctor. I'm a mom of two amazing luminous kids. I'm also a founder of a local community here in Northern California with super happy health kids and beloved elders, multi-generational warm community of freedom-loving people that are committed to birthing the new more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible, as my good friend Charles Eisenstein so eloquently put. And that's what you guys are here to do, and it feels so good to be connecting with kindred spirits.
Wow. When I first met you, which was only a short while ago after I got to know your body of work, you really embody that which you stand for. And I thank you so much for we that are on the path of heralding in this new educational paradigm. And of course, as I mentioned to you, Dr. Edith, our audience, this particular audience, is really, really committed to creating positive change in the world. How has your relationship with activism evolved over these last 2 to 3 powerful years?
I think I speak for a lot of us that these have been just such crazy and absurd times. Some days I have a good sense of humor about it. Other days it feels like very emotionally exhausting, honestly. Right? So I think a lot of us are going through some amount of emotional fatigue and burnout from the absurdities and the nonsense out in the world. But I find that as I do my inner work, I go really deep within myself and ask those deeper questions like, what is it to be human? What kind of world do we want for the future generation? How can we bring the humanness back into our activism? How can we heal all of this craziness and divisiveness? I discovered that actually, the more I do my inner work, the more that I focus on that famous saying, making solutions that make the old problems obsolete, the more I feel energized and inspired by it, and I heal from the burnout. There's this famous saying by, I think it's attributed to Einstein. Yeah, no problem can be solved at the level of consciousness that created the problem, that the solution has to come from a higher level of consciousness than the problem was created at. So there's this powerful body of work by Dr. David Hawkins, who's a famous researcher. He was an MD doctor who focused on researching human consciousness. And he discovered that as you go through healing and expanding your levels of consciousness, you become a lot more potent, powerful, effective, efficacious at what you do. So he came up with this map of consciousness and discovered that when you're in, say, apathy, is not very powerful. When you're in shame, it's not very powerful. When you're in fear, it's not very powerful. But from fear, you can actually become slightly more powerful when you get angry. But it's still not very powerful compared to, say, courage, right? So he discovered that as we go through these levels of consciousness and the associated emotions, when we get into courage, now we're talking. Now we can start having inspired solutions in the mix. And as we keep going beyond even courage into equanimity and reason, having more rational, objective discourse, and gradually go up to levels like love and compassion and joy and peace. When we bring peace and joy and healing into the world, is a whole other level of possibility. And he discovered that if one person is operating from the level of love, which is in his scale is the 500 level consciousness, whereas courage is at the 200 level. He found that all of those negativity levels, like shame and fear and guilt and so on, those levels are sub 200. He found that one person operating at the 500 level, which is the consciousness of love and compassion, one person is as effective as 750,000 people who are operating in those sub 200 levels negativity of consciousness. So just consider this, you guys. Sit up nice and tall and feel this love and compassion, the joy, the vision of a more beautiful possibility for our friends, our families, and our community. As you're radiating love from your hearts, one of you is as powerful as 750,000 of the others out there that are spewing negativity. So we don't have to worry that, yeah, not everybody is awake and aware to what's going on in the world, but it doesn't take that many of us to be awake and aware to create beautiful and positive change in the world.
And as we used to talk about in years gone by, the glass half full, the glass half empty, you're taking it up to a vibrational level. And that's what this series is about. It's about the emergence of a consciousness-based education, a frequency-based education. And you're really speaking to, Dr. Edith, the new human, the rise in human consciousness, which is in the midst of what's going on in this crazy world. I mean, what does education look like in this realm of a raised consciousness?
Old model, we were really clear about what it looked like because it was basically like a factory style cookie cutter model, one size fits all, that everybody had to learn XYZ at this age. And, you know, there were good things about it. We created a society that were reasonably literate and numerate, but really the intention behind the old system was to create obedient factory workers, right? Can we just be honest? It was just like not very creative, innovative human beings that came out of this old system. In the new system, we ask the deeper questions. We ask ourselves, what is education actually for? And even before we ask this question, what kind of a more beautiful world do we want to create for ourselves and our future generation? Right? So when we take a big step back and ask ourselves, what does it mean to be a human? What is life for? What do we value? What do we treasure about being human beings in this life, you know? And what do we want education to nurture and support? What's the purpose and goal of education? And to create a beautiful life, what are all the intelligences and the skills and the qualities that we want to nurture in the next generation? And out of that, every family, every community, and then together as a humanity, we start to come up with a very different set of curriculum. And there's no longer one size fits all. So a big part of what we do with Luminous Education is invite everybody to take a huge step back, to do this kind of deeper inquiry, this kind of soul searching. And naturally, what arises out of this is a collaborative community conversation about what it means to be human and what's this next generation going to need in terms of skills and holistic intelligences to nurture the full blossoming of their consciousness, their human potential, but also be very practical about the skill sets to meet the challenges of these times. So I think that what's going to happen is that the current of the future actually is already happening now. There's people like Judy and people like me. I know many people in the audience. You guys are innovators. You're creating beautiful new solutions already right now, not waiting till the future. And I bet that you're already discovering that there's an expansive set of curriculum that you're experiencing in your community and with your kids, and also yourself as an adult, learning things like entrepreneurial skills and way beyond just math and reading and writing, more holistic alternative approach to understanding the true history of humanity, the true history of our country, not just civics and constitutional law, but also equity law and common law and natural law. Personal website is dredithubuntu.com. That's Dr. Edith, ubuntu.com, dredithubuntu.com. And the email is just hello@ dredithubuntu.com, and that's the best way to reach me. I'd love to hear from you guys, especially those of you that are about to step into the project of building these kinds of community solutions. And that's my favorite group of people: moms, dads, educators, community builders, visionary pioneers of the future. I'd love to work with you and support your work.